Morning folks, I'm at Falmouth and as you can see the sun is just rising at the moment, creating some really beautiful reflections on the sea. I managed to get a shot, but it's not an easy composition. I'll show you what I got through my viewfinder. So it's a bit of a tricky shot really, because the lighthouse, which is the main subject for me, is on the far left and all this sunlight is on the right. So I think I'm going to have to crop it to a panoramic shot. So I've just tried zooming in on the lighthouse and it's not easy, and I also want to try and get it when the actual light's on the lighthouse, which with a 2-second timer isn't easy. But anyway, I'm going to keep trying until I get it. Yeah, I decided I'll just take one without the 2-second timer, and even though that's risky from a camera shake point of view, at least I'll make sure I've got the light on with a single shot, and then I'll combine that with the one with the 2-second timer later on. So I'm being slightly lazy in doing a panoramic stitch horizontally. You're supposed to do them vertically to avoid distortion, but to save having to change lenses, because I'm on my 100 to 400 and I'm zoomed right back at 100mm. So to get all what I want in, I've got to do one shot there. Let's just put this 2-second timer back on. I've got to do one shot there and then another shot to get all the great sunlight in, and then I'll stitch those together in Photoshop later on. Okay, so I'm just opening these two files in Photoshop and I'm going to choose File, Automate, Photo Merge. Click OK, and then Photoshop will go through the motions of stitching these two images together. Right, there's the two finished images. And now I just need to crop, which you see on the keyboard in Photoshop. And with the control key held down, you can get a bit more control. I'm just going to go over this way a bit, I think. Something like that. That's looking good. Press enter. And now go to Layer and Flatten Image, and then you've just got an image that you can now save in whatever format you like. So here's the finished result. Yeah, not what I would call a great sunrise, but I'm still pleased I came, because it's really good to be here. I've just seen a couple of seals, a load of large marine birds, which I think were cormorants, just flew over. There's a bloke over there in his fishing boat. Quite a few people came here to see the sunrise, which surprises me because it is 7:30, so it's fairly early for a lot of people. But I think what attracts people to this place is the fact that there's free parking up there. If you watch my previous videos, you know I like a bit of free parking. So they're probably the same as me. It's getting better. A lot of the cloud has dispersed, and now there are these brilliant sun rays. So I'll show you what I got through my viewfinder. So I came here for the dawn pictures and sunrise, but what's come afterwards is actually better, if you ask me. So this often happens when I do sunsets. I get there early, get my tripod set up in position, waiting for the sun to be in the right place, and then the pictures I take before the actual sunset end up being better than the ones I take at the actual sunset. So that's why it's always worth spending a lot of time in a location, just really chilling out, getting into the vibe. And I call it getting into my zone, where it's just me and my camera normally, and not normally me and a video camera as well. And I can relax into it then, the same as I do when I do my processing back in the office. When I get Photoshop out, I really get into a zone then as well, where it's just me and the images, and I'm just concentrating fully on the images. So concentration is a wonderful thing, and it's important to give yourself time when you're out on location, just so you can really concentrate and get into the scenery, and just let it be you and the camera and the scenery. So it's good to be back. I've been out of action for a week or two because I had an operation on my hand. I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, there's a lot of stitching going on there. Basically, I had a skin cancer removal, so it meant I couldn't drive for a while, I couldn't go out and take pictures. So it's good to be back, but yesterday it got infected, so I had to go to the doctors again, get antibiotics. And then this morning I was trying to open a tin of olives, so a jar of olives for my breakfast. Yes, I am nuts. And it made it ooze out a load of blood because I'd been straining it so much trying to open this jar of olives. So no olives for me this morning. Okay, time to switch lenses, I think. So I'm going to put the 20-70 on, and because there's a lot of really good light up there in the sky at the moment. Try and get that in as well. Yeah, so this shot's got something going for it. The sun rays are fabulous, the sky's good, but overall, because I used a wide-ish lens, well actually it's a 49mm, it's pushed everything back. So the main subject, which is the lighthouse, is kind of pushed way too far back and is too small in the picture. So this image has been rejected. Well, I started doing this vlog back in October, and I did manage to get quite a nice time lapse of the sun rising over there by the lighthouse. So I'll show you that. It's good because October is obviously the opposite side of the winter equinox to February, which is what it is now. So the sun rises in roughly the same place in October and February. So you get used to whereabouts the sun is going to rise, and you can plan your shots accordingly. Okay, so I've just brought my raw image into Lightroom, and as you can see it's quite dark. Well, this was deliberate. I slightly underexposed so that I could retain the detail in these very bright highlights, and knowing that I can lift the shadows later, whereas you can't really get back a lot of highlight detail if it's burned out by having too high an exposure. So the first thing I do is I normally try auto, and that gives me a better looking histogram. So it's balanced out the exposure a little bit more. Now I'm going to lift the shadows even more. So I think at the moment they're on +60. I think I'm going to bring this image up to +100. Yeah, that looks better. Now, I think there's just too much C, so what I'm going to do is press R on the keyboard to get the crop tool out. And I've got some presets in here, so I think 19:10 might work, which is roughly the same as 16:9, which is how you're probably viewing this video. Not very pleased with that, still too much C, so I'm going to go to another preset of mine, which is 19:8. And that looks good. So, but I think I'll do something like that, so that there's 1/3 of sea and 2/3 of sky. Right, yeah, that looks pretty good. So now all I need to do is take that into Photoshop. I can see a few flaws. There are a lot of gulls. If I zoom right in, look. That's a nice gull there, I'll keep that one. But some of them are little, just tiny dots. And if you sell a smallish print, these little dots can just look like you haven't cleaned the image properly or something. They look like dust on the actual print. So I tend to remove the unattractive gulls, and by that I mean gulls that don't have their wings spread nicely. And to do that I normally use the spot healing brush. So you can just go over those tiny little, let's just zoom in a bit more so you can see what I'm doing better. So I'm zoomed into 100% now. And there's, you know, quite a few of these little tiny dots which I'm just going to remove. Now as you can see, I didn't take this shot with the lighthouse on, so what I'm going to do is go back to Lightroom and import another image where the light's actually on. Okay, so I've opened up another image, and as you can see, although it's a completely different image, the light is actually on the lighthouse. So I'm just going to use the lasso tool, which is L on the keyboard. Going back to the other image and pasting that over the top. As you can see, it's completely the wrong size. So I'm using the transform tool, which is Control T on the keyboard. And I'm just going to bring that down to approximately the right size. Put it approximately over, and now press the Enter key. And now I'm going to choose the Layers palette, and I'm going to change the opacity of the top layer, which is the big lighthouse, to about 50%. And now you can see through the image a little bit. I'll just zoom in a bit more so you can see that. So now it's just a case of pressing V on the keyboard and getting the Move tool out. So this is the Move tool, and I'm just going to align it with the one behind. I think that's it. Okay, bring the opacity in the Layers palette back up to 100. And then I'm just going to darken that down so it matches the rest of the image more by using the Curves tool, which is Control M on the keyboard. So something like that. And now I'm going to get the Eraser tool, which unsurprisingly is E on the keyboard. And I'm going to erase the extra bits around the edge that might just be visible. So if I zoom out, you can now see the lighthouse is much more visible and prominent in the frame. That's good. I think we're nearly there with this image. The only other thing I don't like is this boat trail in the foreground here. It's a bit of a distracting line, I think. So I'll use the spot healing brush again, which is J on the keyboard. So now I'm just going to go over this, and that's not working, which is fine. So it's good to have these problems occur when you're with me, because then you can see what I do. So I'm going to forget that, and I'm going to use the stamp tool, which is S on the keyboard. I'm going to clone from just above it, and then you can see what I'm doing. I also managed to get some shots of the beaches around Falmouth in October, so I'll show you some of those, because the light was pretty good on a few of those days. was born in Plymouth, Devon in 1960, so just over the river from Cornwall. But then we moved to Falmouth when I was 3 years old, which is 1963. Yeah, I know, I don't look it, thank you. And yeah, here's a picture of me and my brothers on Mainporth Beach in Falmouth. This was about 1963 or 1964. You must say I dressed pretty well, didn't I, even then? Okay, session over, and it was a good one. So, time to move on to somewhere else. Well, thanks for watching, and I suggest you watch this video next. Can I stop smiling now?